Hello, greetings and welcome to this little video log. A little bit different really, because those of you that have watched my videos of me nattering in the car before, or the van, the camera has always been up in the window, just up there and pointing towards me, whereas now it's behind me and looking forward. And it's quite interesting because that change of direction is so relevant to the week that I've just had. I had my COVID jab a week ago, well 6 days ago, and I've spent 5 of those 6 days absolutely laid up. I still had to work, I still had meetings, I had a funeral I had to go and officiate, and I really felt lousy through all of that. The first couple of days I really struggled even to move. I had everything wrong with me. It really screwed my system up. I know it's worth it, I get that completely, and I'm lucky to have had the jab, and I'm certainly not complaining, but I really did suffer as a result. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because on Friday, which was a couple of days ago, the end of the week, I suddenly realised that the life that I've been living for the last 2.5 years was based on a certain security that really wasn't there. And I think I've known this for a while. So I made quite a profound decision. I decided to take a part-time job. When I say part-time job, it's 36 hours a week. And I know to a lot of people that would be a full-time job. But it's slightly more complicated than just saying it's a full or a part-time job. It's 36 hours a week, but it's working at night, but I'd actually be sleeping for 6 of the 9 hours that I would be on shift 4 nights a week. And it comes with accommodation as well. For me, there's a whole host of things that will change as a result of this, and I always knew this when I was first offered the post a couple of weeks ago. And also I've been in talks with this particular company for 6 months, so it's not a sort of a quick thing by any means, but it really has helped me to focus my mind on the fact that my work for so long has been up, down, variable, depending on how much people have needed me, month in, month out. And so I haven't had a sort of a solid wage, so to speak, for a very long time. I've lived well, but there's always been that huge variance. Some months I will earn quite a significant amount different to another month. And I think for me the time has just come that I don't want to only be relying on that. So it's a very exciting new project and new way forward, but it does mean that I'll be sort of pigeonholing my days and my workspace. I'm seeing that as a good thing though, because I really want to start doing even more videos than I've been trying to do so far, and actually making, hopefully, good quality videos and good quality content. So the chance to actually sort of say, well, I've got 3 days every week, and I've got to produce something during those 3 days is quite powerful, because I think I probably will plan a lot more what I'm going to do on those 3 days, and hopefully really make it count. Now I'm going to have to pause in just a second because I'm approaching the petrol station. I need some fuel. I'm on my way to take Noah to a birthday party. It's actually his birthday party. Noisy. 3 weeks after his actual birthday, but he's going go-karting. And because of the lockdown, when it was his birthday, the go-karting places were shut. So he's going today, and I'm really pleased for him. And I'm taking the camper and we're going to pick his friends up. I think we've got 5 or possibly even 6 people that I'm going to be ferrying around. So it will be really nice for him, but it does mean I've got a long way to drive and I need some petrol, and this is a very thirsty beast. And also it's a thirsty beast for the most expensive fuel, which means pay at pump only. Well, that's fine, that's what I am doing. Which side's the fuel on this thing? I've forgotten. That side. Does he know what he's doing? I don't know whether he does. I don't think he's made his mind up. Okay. So, high octane fuel. Here we come. Back in a sec. Not with that one though. Right, so we managed to get the fuel. Quite strange actually though. It's the kiosk's out of order, but the pay at pump is working, so that's good. So, on with the adventure. This car is very, very different to drive than the others. And I don't mean that in a silly sense. A little MX-5 that I had was very, very sporty, very low down to the ground, very quick manual gearbox, very powerful, lovely. The little Ford KA that I've got is very much sort of I'm not going to say a high rev car, because the truth is I don't drive very fast. Although ironically it was along here that I got a speeding ticket about 6 months ago. I'll tell you the story in a minute. But yes, the little KA again is very, you know, it's very sort of quick off the mark. It's got a lot of power behind the gears. Helen's new car, which is a Volkswagen Up, that's a bit sluggish if I'm honest. Very different to the Q5 she had before. But then there's this. This is very high up, which I quite like actually. But because it's an automatic, I can't quite make up my mind whether it's nippy or not. And I don't mean that in a silly sense, but it's quick off the mark at lower speeds, but if I was, for example, going to try and get up to 70 along here, it wouldn't be the fastest thing in the world. It wouldn't change through the gears perhaps as quick as, say, the Q5. A lot quicker than the Up. So I said I'd tell you about the speeding ticket. Well, the honest truth is, as is always the case, I did genuinely make a mistake. It was actually in the other direction that it happened, and I was on a stretch of road that had dropped very, very quickly from a 70 to a 50 to a 40, and although I was physically in the 40 already, a lorry actually cut me up, and so I was trying to get back into the right lane, and there's a huge queue of traffic behind, and it wasn't letting me in, and it was a real struggle. And I did. I put my foot down to go around him, and perhaps I shouldn't have done it. Okay, fair enough. But it was just jolly bad timing, jolly bad luck, and I was a bit frustrated that the circumstances had happened. And I know it's one of those things that you know you can't argue. Were you technically breaking the speed limit? Yes, you were. Were you doing it after making a full, considered appraisal of the situation as an ex-driving instructor and HGV driver many years ago? Yes, I was. Did it hurt anyone? Was there any risk factor as an advanced level driver? No, there wasn't. Technically, did I go over the speed limit? Yes, I did. And there was just no argument with it. So, you know, I'm not saying... I'm not saying that I feel disgruntled or upset, but if you could just imagine that I have, that'd be great. So the world's sort of getting back to normal, really, isn't it? People have almost forgotten that the COVID's there. You know, people are going forward for the vaccination. The masks do seem to be disappearing now. I know you are still supposed to wear them in shops, but you walk out on the street, and there was a time during the first lockdown, everybody was wearing latex gloves and 2-3 layers of masks, and you know, now it all seems to have, you know, just dropped back as if not the case. I mean, I went to visit somebody the other day, a working visit, and so I'm allowed to go in the house, and I was allowed to go in the house all the way through the lockdown for it, but I didn't. But I went into this family's house, and they weren't wearing masks, and they said, "Oh, would you like us to?" And I had one in my hand saying, "Oh, well, I didn't know if you'd want me to." And there was this sort of, well, we don't have to now, but should we? And it was a tricky situation. Well, this new project that I've got coming up, it's actually been quite an expensive morning for me, because I suddenly realised that I was going to need some new clothes to wear, a couple of jackets, and some new shirts and trousers. And so I went on Amazon and Marks and Spencer and my clerical shirt supplier, and I bought some bits and pieces this morning, and I nearly frightened myself. It's more than I've spent on clothes in a very, very long time, and I know for some people what I spent this morning, you know, would have been a drop in the ocean, but for me it was a lot of money. But I suppose, you know, I'm going to need to look the part when I go and do the role, so it's sort of yeah, just a question of having to, really. And the other thing that I suddenly realised that I need to do is I need to set up a desk, because I did actually have 6 office rooms at one point, and you know, that was, I think, needlessly excessive. 3 of them have now been dealt with and have gone. One of them has been turned into a virtual office only. Then there's the main sort of office that I can't get away with, that I have to keep. And then there's the sort of the desk space at Helen's. However, I am also going to need an additional desk space for the new accommodation that I've been offered for the new role. And I physically run out of desks. Oh, actually, so there was a 7th, because I had a desk as well at the lodge in South Cerney from when I was there, but that's obviously, we got rid of the desk from there, and the lodge obviously now rented out. But yeah, so I'm going to have to get myself a new desk and a new chair, and I quite fancy one of the gaming chairs, the ergonomically designed super duper chairs. And I was trying to look at these, and you can get them from sort of high street retailers for about 150 to 180 pounds. But it seems that the Holy Grail is about 350. And it did look very, very nice. And I was sort of thinking, well, you know, you buy cheap, buy twice. Should I, shouldn't I? And so I've been umming and ahhing about this this rather nice, rather expensive chair. I can't quite decide whether or not I'm going to make the firm decision to purchase one. We'll have to see on that. Now, another little project that I've been debating, and this will only happen, I think, if I do sell the boat, but I need a new vehicle, a more sort of permanent vehicle, and I thought about buying a little van, but one that I could convert as a camper. Obviously this isn't mine, but I did think, wouldn't it be nice to have a van of my own? And I'm not sure whether I'd go for something smaller that I could do as a sort of a stealth camper, or whether I'd want some sort of high top roof where I could have an actual shower and toilet and things like that on board. I haven't quite decided. I'm still sort of sitting with the idea and playing with ideas at the moment. But I thought it might be quite nice to do over the next 4 months, because I've set myself a sort of a time scale with regard to this new project that I'm going to do. I thought I would give it 4 months, give it a real go, and then at the end of the 4-month period, or coming towards the end of the 4-month period, I would sort of make an assessment how I felt about it, how it was working, whether the lifestyle was a bit bonkers, a bit bizarre, or whether it was actually working. There really is no way of knowing until I give it a go. But I did think, well, if I do that, could I spend the next 3-4 months trying to source a van and trying to convert it? And I thought that might actually be a really, really good way to spend the time, try and make some videos about it as well, have great fun adventuring in it. But also I really enjoyed when I did the boat. I really enjoyed the sort of looking at the empty shell and saying, right, what am I going to build? And the fact that I did, and what was actually created at the end was my work. Yeah, some people might say that's a bad thing, but there was just something rather wonderful about looking at the creation and saying, yes, I made that, I designed that, I thought about that. That was all my own work. I was debating putting in one of my microphones and miking up, but I thought, no, I'm going to see how the media mod on the GoPro handles it, because it is quite a good microphone. So I'm hoping it'll come out all right for you guys. So which bridge is this? Is this one of the railway bridges, or is this the watery bridge that I've been under? Neither, that's a road one. Okay. Okay, so it's not as bad as it could be up ahead, but this is the traffic lights I was on about. Might have to wait for a change or two, but there are days that to get through here you will you'll wait sort of half an hour queued back. It's a bad road layout design, because this really is the only way to get from the sort of the Cheltenham Gloucester area across to Oxford. There are back roads and what have you that you can loop through, but this really is the only main road, so to speak. Oh, another constable there. I wonder if they're on their way to assist their friends. So, lights are on green. We're slowly moving, or coming up to move. There we are, look. The building on the left, which is a motorcycle clothing place, I think that used to be one of the sort of the Little Chef style places. And I think it's quite interesting, because there was a time that, you know, Little Chefs and Wimpys, they were absolutely everywhere, and people did eat out in those sort of places when they were having a journey. But then, I don't know when it was, sort of 80s, 90s, they started to slowly drop away, really. Very few Wimpys left, I know, and Little Chefs, I don't I don't even know if they're still going, or if there's just the odd one token one somewhere. But yeah, they're no longer the the place that they were. And I just think it's interesting that there was no demand for the Little Chef, so the building was closed and turned into a motorcycle place. But actually behind it, in the car park, somebody set up a catering van. I think that's quite bizarre. Maybe overheads were too high or something. Maybe that was the thing. There is actually another one further along the other side of Burford, which somebody has turned into a residential house. So I think it's a residential house. But they put a huge 50-foot wall or something all the way along the side with gates, so you can't even see the building anymore, which I think is quite a shame. And there's also, I'll point it out when we get to it, there's a little housing estate on the right hand side that we'll come to, somewhere around Burford. And years and years ago it was just an empty, desolate piece of land, and it had one of these American style diners, the long sort of Airstream style silver aluminium diners. And on the opposite side of the road there was a little toilet block, little sort of brick built toilet block. And it must be 30 years ago, it suddenly, or 25 years ago, it suddenly closed down. And the land was unused for a number of years. And I always remember thinking to myself, that'd be a great place to build a hotel. And then somebody started. They did start building a hotel. The only thing was, I think they ran out of money because they never put the roof on. And they never actually put the doors and windows in and sort of finished the building. They got to the stage that the shell was there. But it then remained unfinished for probably 10 years at least. All of a sudden one day, it became a housing development, and the house, the building that obviously was going to be the hotel, was suddenly converted into, I presume, some sort of block of flats, and there were other houses that have been built around it. And there's I think it's called the Cotswold Outpost, some sort of cafe shop there as well. And I just think, again, so interesting that the business that was there failed, other things were tried, other things eventually became established, and when that was the case, wouldn't it be a good idea if we had a cafe there? There was one there, and nobody stopped, and now all of a sudden things have changed, and the paradigm that we've gone through, and now people will stop. So it is actually really nice to be driving the van today. I do really enjoy driving. I do really enjoy driving it. It's just that it's so expensive to run. It's lovely, but it's very expensive. The high octane fuel and the miles per gallon, I think it's about 3 times the cost per mile as compared to, say, my little MX-5 when I had it, or my little KA now. It's incredibly different. And so I think, if I'm working and it's just me in the car and I've just so I've got a suit or robes or what have you in the boot, the little car is great. But I must confess that as long as I'm allowed to borrow it and Helen doesn't mind, if I've got a very long day where I'm sort of going to 2 or 3 places and I'm waiting for hours at a time, this is a lovely vehicle to do that in. Because of course you go and you do whatever you're doing, and then you move on, and you've got 3 hours to kill, so sit and maybe have a snooze, maybe make a cup of tea or what have you. It's sad actually that we can't make the cup of tea inside, and that you have to put the little bluet thing outside, but yes, not to worry. But it is still an absolutely lovely vehicle to be in and to do that in. So it would be really nice to do some more journeys in it. The the bar that I've bought to fit the cameras on is a quick release, easy interchangeable, so I can put it in this, or I can put it in my other car or something else if I bought it. But I do like the idea of using this as well. It's a wonderful resource. It's a lovely place to be, a lovely happy place. Very comfortable. Just a nice, comfortable place to be. Right, so I've just stopped to change the battery. Sadly, I lost you briefly there. I think that's something to do with how long I've been nattering for. So, fortunately, I've got a box of batteries. So now we just need to wait for a clear spot. One in the distance. And this lorry, I wonder what he's going to do. I wonder if he's going to... Oh, bloody typical. Yes. He went for it, didn't he? I may have been slightly less than respectful to the lorry driver that, I don't know, they even saw me, to be honest. It was obviously his time to go and he put his signal on, and of course it stopped me going. Right, there we are. If our friend here would like to accelerate to the right speed. Lovely. Nice and safe, nice and smooth. No hard accelerating. I like that. So I think Cheltenham is 29 miles away from there. So I should be with Noah and party people inside about 40 minutes. I think that's rather good. Ah, incoming EAM. This roundabout didn't used to be here. This used to be sort of a straight through road. And I remember when they were building it, and it was quite poorly signposted, and quite a few people, as they came down the other way, didn't know there was a roundabout there and suddenly had to slam their brakes on. It is now properly signposted, which is good, but yes, it was quite dangerous for a while actually. The thing with me was that when it was first there, obviously I wasn't used to it, and because of the angle of the road, and if I'm honest, a little bit of absent-mindedness, I've actually gone the wrong way at that roundabout. When I've been coming from Cheltenham to Oxford, I've managed to turn left and back on myself and into the villages. I'm not quite sure how I've done that, but I have, twice actually. Now I'm very conscious that whilst this was meant to be a driving sort of nattery type video, the roads haven't been the nicest to look at. And they are, when all is said and done, just dual carriageway. That's all we've been on, isn't it? I'm hoping to do some nicer trips as well, some out and about around the country and what have you. And I did try and do one during this last week before I'd constructed the thing that's up there now, holding the camera facing forward, just with the camera's up there. I did try and go and do a video just out and about in the country. But I was still feeling so ghastly, so horrible after the COVID jab that I lasted a mile and a half. And so I went out, mile and a half up the road, decided no, this isn't going to work. Came back, sat on the sofa. A few hours later, thought no, I'm going to try again. And I lasted for about an hour, I think. The footage was dreadful. I just didn't have the enthusiasm to go far enough to find the right shots, the right thing. So yeah, it really, really did become, I suppose if I'm honest, sort of something and nothing really. So I'm going to try and cobble together bits from that video, and it will be entitled one of my failed videos, which I think is quite nice actually, because it's not a failure as such. It's not what I wanted it to be, but it is nonetheless a little sort of diary moment of, oh, I went out and this happened. Now apparently there's some delicious strawberries up ahead in the lay-by, according to that sign. Unfortunately I don't have any delicious cash on me, and I suspect they won't take cards. Although they might do actually, might they now, because everywhere seems to be more card friendly than ever they were. People just not handling cash because of the COVID. But there doesn't seem to be any sort of sign saying we will take card payments, which is a shame. So I decided not to stop and try for the strawberries. So now, way over halfway, I think in a minute we're coming up on the turning for Bybury. And if you go down through Bybury, you come out to the lodge at South Cerney. I do actually really like Bybury. I might do some, might go and do some video footage there at some point. And this whole area here is actually quite close to where this new project is going to be. So it's yeah, quite an exciting place at the moment for me, this. Burford Nursing Home, it's not there. The views here are absolutely spectacular. I've always liked this particular stretch. I remember once, many years ago, the lay-by that I've just passed back there, I remember pulling over there and I had a telephone conversation with somebody that would later become one of my bosses in my very early working career. When I was involved in business, it was finance actually. It was a financial advisor that was taking me on. But that was 2.5 decades ago. A lot's happened since. Now, as we leave Burford, there's a school down here. We're just going through this pedestrian set of traffic lights. That was actually a footbridge up until a couple of years ago. The school had its own footbridge from their playing fields on the right there to the school on the left. And I think the bridge must have been condemned at some point and it was dismantled. And they put that crossing there instead. But again, it's just something that's changed so dramatically. Something so simple, but also something that has had a huge impact on the architecture of the landscape. Oh, so here's the turning to Bybury I was on about. Actually missed my bearings. Burford you get to first from Oxford. But yes, there it is down there, and it's quite a nice village. It's quite a nice run as well, just to go through to South Cerney. It's very idyllic, very peaceful, lovely. Yeah, very nice. So coming up just here, on the right. So first of all, on the left, where that black thing is there, that's where the little brick toilets were. No, I'm wrong. It was there. That's where they were, and that's where the diner was, and is now. Well, it is now the Cotswold Outpost or whatever it was called, and the little housing estate. So, yes, actually, I'm not thinking about it. I think the little toilet block was where the black fence was. But either way, it's not there now. I think that's going to be another part of the housing estate by the looks of it. Quite sad, because what would have been a little detached hotel in the middle of nowhere, or a little diner just in a bit of abandoned land, yeah, it's a shame really. It's being turned into yet another little suburb. I'm actually really passionate about protecting the countryside. I know a lot of people want to protect the countryside by them because they have bought a house and they don't want to be next to lots of other houses. They want to be in the country, and I get that completely. As somebody that's lived in villages most of my life, I really do get that. I understand completely. But I am actually passionate about the countryside for the countryside's sake. I really think that we need to be able to get out and about and sort of just, you know, go through a wood or drive somewhere like this where you're driving through the fields and there's, you know, sort of maybe a stately home, I think there is on the right here, and there's farmland to the left. But just to have that experience of going through the green, and I think we're in danger of losing that, because the more fields we dig up and the more houses we build, we're encouraging more and more cars on the road. And I get the whole electric by 2030 or whatever it is. Whether it'll happen or not is another matter, but it's still cars and it's still energy and production that's being sort of pushed and forced through. But it's also taking away from these wonderful beauty spots. I know we need to learn I know we need to live somewhere, but maybe look at other solutions. You know, maybe I don't know. There are lots of things that I could say that probably make me unpopular, actually, but the honest truth is, I do think yes, we should protect our countryside, because it's disappearing at a rate of knots, and once it's gone, I know technically you could dig up, you could demolish a house and you could, you know, dig it up and you could take the concrete elsewhere, but you can't recreate the nature. Yes, you could replant it and it'll regrow in time, but it won't be the same unspoiled land that, you know, is at the moment. I think that's so precious. We need to hold on to that. Now, just coming up here on the left is North Leach. Quite an interesting place, North Leach. They have a prison, or it was a prison once upon a time, and this prison has been converted into an internet cafe over the years, and just a normal cafe, and a little museum, and all sorts of things. But it's really not that big. I think it was, you know, quite a regional jail, prison, no matter what you want to call it. This blossom's absolutely beautiful, isn't it? So, both sides. It's yeah, just so simple, but yeah, really beautiful. And I think it's ironic, really, that this is the fodder for the fumes and the pollution that we're kicking out right now, and it's just sort of absorbing, so that it protects the land further back. But even that, nature is still bringing out this wonderful blossom as that's its defense mechanism. I just think that's pretty good, actually, pretty spectacular. So all over to the right of where we are now is Stow on the Wold, or on the Water, the place called Horling where I used to live, all of those Cotswold villages. And I am at some other point, I'm going to do a little tour around the Cotswolds. Although I think, for me, the fact that although I think it's true that you don't really appreciate what's on your own doorstep. You want to go beyond and explore further. And most of my life I've been in the Cotswolds. So I've sort of driven through it all and experienced it all, just going to and from work, sort of thing. But it is a lovely, lovely part of the world. You know, it's sort of very lucky to be in it. So lucky that you don't actually appreciate it. Now, shortly we're going to be coming up on a place called Andoversford. Now I can say about this now, I couldn't before, but one of the little offices that I had and I rented for a while was in Andoversford, and I literally handed the keys back on Friday. I had to come and do a funeral in Cheltenham, and so I brought with me the keys for this office in Andoversford. I really did have such high hopes when I rented it. There was so much that I was going to do with it, and unfortunately, other things happened, and things took a different direction. It was the most expensive experience of my life. I spent 1 hour, one single hour, in that office. Sat doing some work, 1 hour, and the total bill that I had to spend was £1,000. Right, well, that was a second stop to change the battery. Oh, I think that's about right. Try again. Off we go once more. Whoops. Wrong car, stalks on the wrong side. So I was mentioning Andoversford. That's right here. That's where I've stopped to change the battery for a second time. Now, from Andoversford, where I worked many years ago when I was putting myself through university, I worked up here part-time, but I think like 4 years part-time, all the way through university. Now from there it's 9 miles to my old house, which was a bungalow out in a place called Uckington, through and out the other side, but 6 miles to Cheltenham. Now, to get to Noah's mum's house, I actually have never calculated it from here, but I don't think it's far. I think it's only about 4 miles, something like that. So we are very nearly there. Now, I'm really excited to take Noah go-karting and spend the day with him and his friends. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to video because whilst Noah wouldn't mind being on camera, I don't really think it's fair for his friends to be on camera, and then obviously I'd have to ask all their parents' permission to post it. So yes, we're coming to the end of this video as we come down into Cheltenham, but it's been a lovely trip, and I've really enjoyed actually having the camera up there, and I really do hope the sound quality comes out reasonably well. I think it should. When I changed the battery for the second time, I did just have a very quick listen to the previous video that I'd recorded. 3 seconds, no more than that, and the sound seems to have come out quite well. So it might be that actually I do more of these like this without miking up to do it, and I just use the mod on the GoPro. This hill, as we come down to Cheltenham, very fast hill actually, although I'm only doing 50. There's a 40-mile-an-hour speed restriction that will come up very shortly, and it's quite badly designed because there's a farm shop that's been opened on the right hand side, and so you go from a 60 zone down to a 40 instantly, and then it's lots of windy bends, and people don't always, you know, sort of take full care of that. But you go around this one bend and suddenly there's the farm shop on the right hand side, and they've started putting security personnel to regulate the numbers and what have you actually in the road, and he is stopping the traffic pulling in. They've got a huge car park, and what they should do really is allow the cars to pull in, then he should speak to them and then turn them around afterwards, but he's stopping them as they go in. So the first car goes across and he stops them, that's fine, but because it's right on the junction, you then get a queue of people because somebody else wants to turn in, and it's so dangerous because you go round the corner and all of a sudden, woof, there's a huge huge queue of people trying to get in. So I think it's a bad design. I'm sure it's a lovely farm shop. I've not been in there, I can't comment. But right, so we've got temporary 40-mile-an-hour limit. So you think, oh, there's going to be some roadworks or something. You don't expect that there's a farm shop. So here it is on the right, and I don't mean to moan, but there he is, look, there's Mr. Security Guard. So if you try and turn in, he's going to stop you right there and cause a queue on the road if anyone else is trying to turn in. Very, very dangerous. So we're down in one of the suburbs of Cheltenham now, called Cheltenham Kings. Basically a little area of housing, one of the little districts within Cheltenham. And I'm very, very nearly where I'm aiming for, to pick Noah and his friends up to take them out for his birthday party. So this sort of wraps up this video really, but I would like to say thank you very much if you've watched all the way through. There are more videos to come like this. I'm really looking forward to doing more sort of driving videos. Now I've got the thing, the camera fitted up there, and obviously when I get the proper tool to do the other cameras as well, that's going to be really good. So I will just say thanks indeed for watching. Yes, that's it. I hope that you will tune in for the next one. There'll be more coming very shortly. But yes, thanks once again. Let's get through here, and I'll say bye-bye for now.